Hello, family. I hope all is well. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Sending you all lots of love. I want to thank you all for your likes, your shares, your comments. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. We're going to get right into the content. These young men leaving, they're testifying. God said our truth shall be revealed in the last days, and they're explaining who God's chosen children are. Here we go.
You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians.
Now, Native Indians, that's the foundation of Black Americans, the indigenous Black Indians and the Hebrew Israelites. Not those Native Indians, they call them the $5 Indians. Those are Asians. And they came over here and they had the Black Indians as slaves. So they called themselves Native, but they're also being deported because they are not the true indigenous Indians. So let's get that clear. They done stole, so many people done stole Foundation of Black Americans' identity until it's just so many lies they're hard to keep up with. We got one group of people over here saying they Jews. We got another group over here saying the Indians. We got, it's just like, and our name keep changing, so we don't know. We learning. God is waking us up. Okay, here we go.
Are the Israelites of the Bible, according to the curses of Deuteronomy 28. And the simple fact of the matter is that my people have lied to you and the whole world about the Bible and have sought to paint their images over your images and to replace you in the Bible, which is your history, heritage, and culture. Now I want to go into Deuteronomy chapter 28 and read, this is Moses talking to the children of Israel after they've come out of Egypt, bondage. This is Moses talking to the children of Israel. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Here he is talking to the Israelites. The second verse, he begins to go into the blessings that would be put on the Israelites if they would keep the commandments. That says that they'd be blessed in the city, blessed in the field, and basically blessed in everything that they would undertake to do. They would lend to other nations, but not borrow, things of that nature. But in verse 15 of Deuteronomy chapter 28, it says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Now I want to go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68, and read one of those curses that all Israelites, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, should immediately be able to identify with, proving that you are the Israelites of the Bible. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more. The it is referring to your homeland, Israel, Jerusalem. and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. So wherever you got off of those ships, who you were sold to, those are your enemies, according to God. For bond men and bond women, and no man shall buy you. That word buy means to redeem. And many have came and tried to redeem the Israelites. Marcus Garvey tried and failed. Malcolm X tried and failed. Martin Luther King Jr. tried and failed. Now, as far as it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. The word Egypt is a word that means bondage, house of bondage. It is a Greek word. The Bible explains and proves itself. And I'm going to go to Exodus to prove that Egypt, that y'all being brought back into Egypt again with ships, is not referring to you going back into the land of Egypt literally again, but is referring to you going into slavery again. This is Exodus chapter 20, verse 21. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. What is another word for bondage? Slavery. So the reason that the Israelites went into slavery is because they chose not to keep the covenant that God made with them and them only. So I hope that you found this video edifying. I hope that it helps to wake the Israelites, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, who, according to the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28, are the Israelites of the Bible. And with that said, I'm going to say shalom, and I will see you again in the next video. Thank you for watching. Israel, it's time to wake up and repent.
It's funny how they left Israel brown and came back white. These white Europeans, these freckled, red-haired, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people from Poland and Germany and Hungary, oh, they're the chosen. No. Jesus didn't recognize them in John 8. He said, Abraham's not your father. Oh, they're the chosen people. We ran into one of the chosen ones out soul winning day. It's funny how she didn't even want to hear Romans 3:23. She wouldn't even listen to one verse. She was just quick to get us out of there. Just no interest. Of course, Israel will always be the people of God, except for the fact that that fake nation over in the Middle East is not Israel.
Family, over the past few months, have been doing it.
When did they turn white and how? Or Caucasian, I don't know. What word should I use as far as blue-eyed, blonde hair, looking like Bibi Netanyahu, I guess?
Well, I don't think nobody thought that Jews were white until after the Second World War. It was pretty much the time with, when Liz Taylor became Jewish and, Paul Newman and people like this, who was Jewish, all of a sudden Jews became beautiful and, Jews became beautiful at about the same time as blacks became beautiful. You remember that whole thing in the 60s and 70s, black is beautiful. And so I don't know that, there was ever a time really the Jews were thought of as being particularly white, and why would you expect them to be? After all, they traditionally lived in the Middle East. They lived next to Egypt, and they came from Egypt. at least according to the Bible. And, people in that part of the world to this day are not, they don't have blue eyes and blonde hair, characteristically. They have dark skins and, yeah.
I'll just go back to our 1948 Israel. These are the promises. This is exactly what I've seen in your blogs, and Zach has backed it up somewhat, and it just makes sense to me that this is the covenant for the people to return to the land, the people, and that there would be peace there. But apparently, this doesn't correlate with the 1948 issue.
No, not at all. I mean, how many times did we see him, even here, he said, it's conditional. Let me see here. Okay, yeah, chapter 30, verse 1. And when all these things come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you call them to mind among the nations where the Lord your God has driven you. So when you're in the diaspora, when you are driven out, and when you wake up and realize, hey, we've gone astray, we've reaped the curses for 2,730 years or more, when you acknowledge that and return to the Lord your God, verse 2, you and your children, and obey his voice in all that I command you today, with all your heart, with all your soul, then Yahuwah your God will restore your fortunes and have compassion on you. And he, not the Zionists, not the Rothschilds, not the Freemasons, not the United Nations, he will gather you again from all the peoples where Yahuwah your God has scattered you. It's an if-then. If you do this, then he will do that. Nothing about 1948 fits that. It doesn't fit Jeremiah 23, which says the same basic thing, Jeremiah 30, Jeremiah 31, the entire book of Hosea, Ezekiel 37, and Isaiah 65 and 66.
It's like a fact that Solomon married a bunch of black women. It's a fact that Ethiopia was Jewish. It's a fact that North Africa was Jewish. It's a fact that went on, and that Kyrie Irving puts out a video explaining that a bunch of North African blacks are intermarried and part Jewish, and Israel lets a bunch of blacks in because they can prove that their lineage, their names are Jewish names. So how is it anti-Semitic, and how does the ADL say it's anti-Semitic for black people who are related directly to King Solomon and King David, the line of Judah, which Haile Selassie was the leader of Ethiopia? That's where this whole movement comes from. To act like they don't know this, I'm not blaming Jews for this, I'm blaming the leftist ADL. To deny black Jews their heritage is a historic fraud.
If we go back to bloodline, we go back to Abraham. If we go back to Abraham, we don't get to make him European or African or Asian or whatever we want him to be, depending on how we feel about it. No. The Bible is quite clear. He comes out of the Middle East. He comes out of Mesopotamia. He comes out of Ur. His people had migrated into Mesopotamia. They did not migrate out of Africa. They are a particular sect of people. First is who was Abraham? Okay. If you read in Genesis 11, 27 through 30.
Who in the hell was that white guy TD Jake just put up on the screen? Who in the hell was that? See, they do things without doing it. Meaning what? They put subliminals out there. They're going to put an old white man, an Edomite, up on the screen and talk about Abraham. TD Jake, Thomas Dexter, you ain't fooling nobody. You might fool them clowns in your congregation, but you ain't fooling the elect of God.
We don't know who they are. I know who they are. It's clear. It's you guys.
What do you mean by you guys?
The folks that were sent through the transatlantic slave trade. The folks that are still in the lands of their captivity. Israel is in the lands of their captivity. There is no creation of the so-called Jewish state of Israel in 1948. That does not fit prophecy. Those people over there that call themselves Jews, they call their own selves Ashkenazi. If you go look at Genesis chapter 10, 1 through 5, it tells you Ashkenaz is descended from Japheth, Noah's son Japheth, not Shem. That means he's a Gentile. I'm a Gentile. You know, we're Gentiles. And I mean, like, I wasn't brainwashed. I got the Bible before they do the brainwashing of the programming and try to make you think Egypt is white, which is ridiculous because it's Africa. So, you know, all that's Africa. So, you know, I'm thinking clearly because I'm reading, I know what's going on, you know. And, like, I was a weird kid. I thought a lot. I thought about things, and you know, my mom, she was really cool because she never taught me no kind of hate. She taught me to respect.
What's up with black people claiming I'm an imposter and they're the real Jews? This isn't just a Twitter meltdown. This is a specific 130-year-old theology that evolved from a message of hope into a weapon of hate. And to understand where it comes from, we have to go back to the American South. The story begins right after the Civil War. Former slaves were looking for dignity in a world that treated them like animals. They read the Bible and saw people who were enslaved, oppressed, and exiled, the ancient Israelites, and they thought, that sounds like us. In 1896, a man named William Saunders Crowdy claimed he had a vision that African Americans were the lost tribes of Israel. At this stage, it wasn't necessarily about hating Jews. It was about reclaiming black dignity. It was a way to say, we aren't slaves, we're royalty. However, at the same time, another preacher named F.S. Cherry was teaching something darker, that white people generally were inherently evil and hated by God. The seeds were planted. In the 1920s, a man named Wentworth Arthur Matthew founded a black synagogue in Harlem. He didn't want to fight the Jewish community, he wanted to join it. He used Orthodox prayer books, kept kosher, and applied to join the New York Board of Rabbis, but the Ashkenazi establishment rejected him. They didn't accept his credentials or his lineage. This rejection sparked a theological crisis. If we are the real Jews and they're rejecting us, then they must be fake. Matthew began teaching that European Jews were descendants of the Khazars, a medieval Turkic tribe that converted to Judaism. The imposter narrative was born. In the late 1960s, a radical school opened at 1 West 125th Street in Harlem. This is where the modern Black Hebrew Israelite movement was born. They created the famous 12 Tribes chart, which assigned every Black and Latino group a specific biblical tribe. African Americans were the tribe of Judah. Jamaicans were Benjamin. Mexicans were Issachar. But if these groups are Israel, who are we? The leaders of 1 West taught that modern Jews are Edomites, the descendants of the biblical Esau, Jacob's twin brother. In the Bible, Esau was born red and hairy, which they interpret as white skin. And most importantly, Esau sold his birthright to Jacob. So the theology is the white man, Esau, knows he lost a blessing, so he's masquerading as a Jew, Jacob, to steal it back. This theology didn't stay on the street corner. It merged with the Nation of Islam. Louis Farrakhan adopted the imposter theory to explain why Jews had so much power. He argued the reason they controlled the world was because they stole our identity to hide their true nature as Edom. So what started as a former slave trying to find hope in the Bible has mutated into a conspiracy theory that tells millions of people your identity was stolen, and those are the people who stole it. Now you know.
All right, since Kamala took my other page down, I'm gonna have to rebuild it. Making this video to make it very obvious, so there's confusion, and I know that I already explained it in the other video. The claim that there are lost descendancy, lost bloodlines that come from Israel directly in the Black, Hispanic, and Native American communities is true. I had a whole library of books, right, years ago, when I used to be with my son's mother. I still got Russian icons. I still got all this stuff, like PDFs of this stuff, right? I'm probably gonna go do more deeper research that I wanted to go into that, because I was a part of IOIC, that they didn't let me because if the leadership ain't bringing it out and they're not getting any clout, then you're not allowed to bring stuff out. So I'm even gonna go into that stuff, but I just wanna make it shown, no, that even though I'm gonna expose the occultism behind the Israelite group, I will always stand on the historical fact that some of us really are Israelites. By blood, at least. By blood.
Family, many whites.
So what?
Stuff like PDFs of the.
So what we are saying, if you are a Israelite, go do your research. Go trace your family tree. Mexican. If you're Mexican, go bring your proof. I haven't seen any Mexicans present any proof. I mean, black people been knowing their history and their great-great-grandparents, and that we are the indigenous Indians, and and we know that. I'm sure we married if some Africans came over, but Yeah, y'all need to do your own research. We're not trying to stop y'all from doing anything. We just asking each group, because we are the new, we are the ethnogenesis, we're a new breed. Mexicans today live totally different from foundational black Americans today, and indigenous black Indians and Hebrew Israelites. We can love but be separate. Y'all have to go do your own research, educate your own people, bring them in, and then maybe one day we can all discuss and you know, and just show proof how we all is one. But nobody showed any proof on the Mexican side. So do y'all research, find out y'all family tree. It should tie you back to, if you're a chosen child of God, Hebrew Israelite, then it should tie you back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It should tie you all back to the Bible. It should take y'all off the slave ship, brought y'all here to Mexico or the Caribbeans or, you know, North America. But we're talking specifically about slavery in America. We're not talking about who came over on the ship. That's not what we're talking about for reparations or delineation. We're talking about our ancestors that worked this land, that were castrated, estranged fruit, that was babies fed to alligators, that was working the cotton fields from sun up to sundown, that was being whipped, put in hot houses, sweat boxes, stripped naked, you know, just children sold, husbands sold from wives, from families, you know, great, just so much. Eaten, made out of leather, made leather purses and things, kept parts of you kept as trophies. So we're talking about things that happen here. It didn't happen on the ship. It happened here. And those were our descendants that was working the field. We're not talking about, so, but I wish everybody well. We love everyone. We wish best for everyone, but we want to let us do us, the FBAs, the indigenous black Indians, and the Hebrew Israelites. May Yahuwah bless the world, but everybody needs to figure out who they really are, because we all been told a story. That's what this been. Like a movie, and it's all been characters. Now the truth is coming out. Let's do our research, because black Americans, we do our research, and our families told us our history. This is nothing new to us. All right, love y'all. Bye. Like, share, and subscribe.
Probably gonna go do more deeper research.